How's it going, everybody? Fun, wonderful day in Ohio. Finally got, I don't know, like 50-degree weather, sunny. So, we're gonna do some stuff on the cobalt. Gotta do the cluster replacement. Gonna try and swap out the intake, because what's in there already is the 2.2. So it's got the 2.2 Ecotech, and anyone who's messed with them or tried to upgrade them knows you really don't got a lot of options with these things. One of the few is you get the intake off of the 2.4 and it'll just bolt right up, or at least so I'm told. We're gonna find out one way or another. Nothing crazy. You're not gonna be like, oh, extra 100 horsepower. No, you're not gonna get anything like that out of just swapping out a slightly bigger intake. But it does give you a little bit more power on the high end of the RPM, so it's alright, yeah, sure, why not? It's worth a try. Plus, this way, okay, cool, I get to tinker around and maybe clean up the engine bay a little bit while I'm in there, got less crap in my way. We're gonna see how this goes. Alright, so, pardon the fact that this thing hasn't been detailed. To get to the beautiful cluster there, which mine's getting signal, but my tach doesn't work, and I ain't about that life. I like my RPMs even if I can hear them. So, first thing you gotta do, take off that kick panel, which, in all honesty, it's just those little retainer clips, so get like a pry bar or something in there, and you just pop them out. Sounds like they're gonna break everything, but that's just how they are. Then you take off that little trim guy, this little trim guy. Oh, yeah. I couldn't help it. Had to paint it gold and put in an aftermarket stereo. I like my Bluetooth. And then, underneath here, I can't see what I'm pointing at. Good gracious. There we go. There's 3, I believe, 7mm bolts there. Under these little trim panels, there should be 2 or 3. It's spread out between them. More of the 7mm. Then you can take off the... crap, drawing a blank. Like the steering column covers. Get those out of the way. That'll let you get your cowl out. And then there's a couple, 2 screws. One. Oh god. There we go. Out of the sun. So one there. One there. Then there's a couple more bolts underneath the cowl. And then one wire plugs, like one little plug in the back. And you get that cluster removed. So let's get to it. So we got the one panel off that has your instrument dimmer adjustment on it. And there's 2 of the bolts that I was talking about. Now on these little pegs, or I think it was just this one and then one that's still under this one, there's these weird little clips. These guys. There we go. They're an absolute pain. They help kind of hold it in. Personally, I ripped them out and threw them away. Well, that one I finally just threw away. But, I mean, you got 3 bolts. And they have the washers on them. There's really not a whole lot of reason to keep them on there. It's just more of a pain if you ever have to take it off. Just my 2 cents. Right, so, it's worth mentioning that when you're taking all these bolts out, if you don't exactly have the best eye for detail or, like, the memory on, hey, this bolt went there, or whatnot, it is worth keeping them separated. Like, even if it's just, like, you could set down a piece of paper that has, like, where it went written on it, and you just put the bolts on it to hold it down. That's good enough. But it does get a little confusing. Like, honestly, it's a good thing that I'm putting a new cluster in, because those 3 that were under those trim pieces, first time when I got in here, I ended up actually forgetting to put those in, and I was wondering why I ended up with 3 extra bolts. So with that little PSA, so we got all the bolts, all the trim pieces off. So you want to drop your steering, like your column lock, and then honestly it's as simple as you just take the underside, and it's got like a couple clips, but for the most part, yeah, it just falls right out. Boop. And then for the top, there we go. You can wait until you have the cowl out, personally, I don't see a whole big difference. Personally, I prefer to try and just pull this thing out. But, excuse you, I'm talking here. You do want to be careful with that whole cowl, because if you get that thing all twisted, or it's got to be real careful with that, because if you get it all twisted or bent, this, that, you're running a very good likelihood that it's not going to sit how it was and how it's supposed to. So, just food for thought. Yeah, we're not fighting food. Though that is a great anime, Food Wars. Watch it sometime, but not around the kids. Do what you want to do. Can't blame me if you're following this and you end up breaking something. Mint. Now, something that will make your life so much easier, your turn signal switch. There's a little tab up here and one down on the bottom as well. You push those in, slide this out, you can just let it dangle there. It'll make getting that cowl and the whole cluster itself out so much easier. And I mean, less stuff in the way makes the removal process, it goes a lot smoother. Why fight it if you don't have to? Simple solutions to complex problems. You can do the same for over here on your wiper switch. You don't have to. First time I did this, I didn't. I just did the turn signal one, and I was able to get it out and reinstall everything perfectly fine. When I pulled the new one out of the junkyard, I did pull out the wiper one just because it made taking the cowl out a lot easier. So, there you go. Alright, so now we're finally down to the fun part. As you can see, got my, there we go, the turn signal switch dangling, the wiper switch dangling, undid all the bolts, the 2 screws up top. There we go. Sorry about the finger, but I'm trying to make it so you can actually see. Now, it's worth mentioning the steering wheel all the way down, and then just want to gently kind of wiggle it loose. There's these 2 little pegs down here. See, this one's giving me a little bit of cramp, so boop. And then, there we go. Out, and you just kind of slide it on over, and boom, there's a cowl. And now you have access to a bolt at each of the 4 corners. You take those out, you pull this out, there's a little wire harness about somewhere right in there on the back. Granted, I'm going to show you, but some people don't want to watch everything, and I get that. So, here we go. So, with those done, you want to take your cluster, just kind of pull that end out a little bit. You got to shuffle it over a smidge. You kind of reach behind there, and up towards the top where my thumb is, you can feel the wire harness, and the plug, it just has one of those little tabs on the top. You push down, and the whole plug will come out. Really not that complicated. And then, however you can rotate it, boom, and we officially have a removed cluster. Even though I got this one all cleaned up and pretty, I kind of screwed up my needles on the Speedo and the tack. I mean, granted, the tack doesn't have any effect because, well, it doesn't work in the freaking first place. But Speedo, well, I'll sit there at 0, and it stays about there. So it's been reading about 5 miles under, or maybe I had it a little over. I don't remember. All I know is I screwed it up, and, well, it doesn't sit where it should. So, make sure if you ever end up popping this panel off to clean this, use a little piece of tape or something to mark where your needles are, because this thing will not automatically retain that. There's no springs, it's just motor driven.
What's up?
God, did you get a Subaru?
Does that look like a Subaru to you? Looks more like a Miata.
I mean, if you ask the Amish, it's probably a Subaru. Alright, so here we have the old cluster and the new cluster. There's the old one, a lot cleaner. This was how the new one looked. I mean, I don't know if you can see how grimy that is. Probably not. There's way too much reflection on everything and whatnot. Yeah, you can see some of that imprint. Well, I decided, instead of trying to rush around and clean all that, since I had already cleaned the ones off my old one when I took it out, why not just pop the tabs and switch it over? Because, you know, simple solutions to complex problems. Alright, so we got the cluster out. I replaced the face, like the little clear piece and the actual like trim that makes it look all pretty. Swapped them over because I really didn't feel like cleaning the new one. I'd already cleaned the last one that I'm removing. Not gonna use it, so may as well. See, so next is putting it back together, and honestly, you literally just do everything in reverse. Not copping out, it's just, let's be honest here, you just do it all in reverse. Do it in reverse! Pretty simple. If I can think of anything as I'm putting this along, then I'll figure it out and add it in there. Boy thinks he's slick. Look at that beautiful chisel. That beautiful chiseled hunk of man is what I was going to say. Alright, so base model. The trunk's a little barren. My old one, I had a little spoiler. I mean, it was maybe about that wide. It was funny, but it was good for a first car, but I actually want something big on there. Besides, that thing needs a trunk handle anyways. So, obviously, since that'll look like crap with that color, and I'm not exactly a big fan of feeling like I'm running McDonald's here, we're gonna go ahead and paint it black, because God forbid I be able to find a color match for the paint itself, even though I work at a parts store.
That's kind of a hard color to match.
Yeah, I gotta order it directly from Duplicolor if I want it. So, yeah, that's one thing. And then while this is in the process of drying, in between coats, we're gonna be going up front, because, as I mentioned earlier in the video, I have a upgraded intake from the 2.4 liter Ecotech that we're gonna try and slab that bad chat in here. Nothing really crazy like massive numbers. Oh, it makes 100 extra horse at the wheel. No, none of that crap. But I mean, a little extra horsepower and torque at the top end, but nothing crazy, just a little pep. Something you could do that you don't need a tune for, but it's fun. And also, while that's off, I'll be able to clean off some of the engine while I have the extra room in there, and hopefully make this thing not look like a complete turd. Alright! Send it! So today we're just gonna go ahead and finish up painting the spoiler and see if we can't get it mounted. So we already took some preliminary measurements, and for the most part we kind of got the right idea, but well, just gonna have to send it, see how it goes. Oh, that's quirky.
To Milwaukee. Are you having fun?
I can do this all day long, man.
Donnie is not sponsored by iPro.
Or, let's see, what are those, center punches? Well, good thing this is on the trunk. Step it! Okay, alright. There we go. I need the center punch we got one of these. 2 out of 3. Let's see.
Just, yeah. I'd say
Keep
just
going till
keep
it's done.
doing it. Just do the one side.
You can see with the sky spark, it's off. Got it!
Now it's
Like a glove!
now it's time to finish painting, right?
Yeah. Yeah, now that we got this part done, we don't need to get our hands all over, so we can finish painting this thing. Alright, so we're getting close to the end of the day, but got all the black done and got a handful of clear coat on there. So yeah, there's a couple ripples. I'm pretty sure I laid it on way too heavy with the first coat of clear, but well, I need to learn how to cut and buff anyways, so at some point, a $20-something spoiler from the junkyard, that's not a bad way to learn how to cut and buff. But we're ready to slap this thing on. So alright, so we're 3M'd now. Oh, thanks, sir. And okay. Sweet. Actually, they're right behind you. Boom.
Yeah. Here you go.
She on there.
Looking good, man. Looking really good.
I don't even care about those ripples at this point, dude. Like, that's just, That makes me so happy. Alright, so, finally got the wing painted, done. It's on there. While we were doing that, ended up doing some of the trim stuff on the inside, like the driver's side kick panel. Mint. And, well, both running a 5-spoke small wang gang status. Plus also 2-door mafia. But alright, I think that about wraps up this little let's see, what can I say? Excursion? Adventure? I don't know, what other fancy word could I say? I don't know, but this has been one incredible photosynthesis of a ride. God, I almost sound like one of those people who use big words just to sound smart. But thank you everybody for watching. This is just one of many more to come, you know, as time and energy actually becomes available. So, thank you all for watching again. Feel free to like and subscribe. There's ideally going to be more coming on, but right on. Have a good night, y'all.